Welcome back to the FreeGame Producer Podcast. I'm Brian Onrea here at the luxurious Bandwidth Studios in the A Room.
Yeah.
Across from me, I got the homeboy, the multi-platinum super producer, Willpower. How you doing, sir?
What's good? What's good? Yes, sir.
Blessed to be here. We got a very, very special guest, somebody I'm very impressed with. One of the co-founders of Love Renaissance, which is a record label and a management company.
Yeah.
They have artists such as Summer Walker, Black, Division, Westside Boogie. We got Justice Baiden, a.k.a. Justice Wears Cool Pants in the building.
Yo.
Yes,
I'm good,
sir.
man. You know, I was actually having like a reflection today on like my life and where I'm at. And like I realized that, you know, I'm blessed. Sure. Can't complain. Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate these things because like just getting a chance to talk to people, like-minded people, you know, just makes me smarter. So I think for me, I'm just like always on the conquest to just like, you know, gain as much knowledge as I can. So things like this I appreciate.
Yeah, I like to get right into that, man. You know, one of the things that I like about you, man, or that I am impressed with, man, is the fact that like you are a forward thinker, you know, with some of the strategies that you've implemented, some of the artists that you're signing, some of the different things that you're involved in. It's like you understand what it is to kind of be like a disruptive person, man, and understanding what it means to like, you know, really dig into a situation, man, and be, you know, in front of it. Can you talk about like where your mind is when you're in those situations? Like what are you thinking about when you implement these things?
Man, it's funny because like I feel like I'm plagued, right? Because like I would love to take the easy route and do things that seem a lot more predictable or more plug and play. Mm-hmm. But just like I feel like I'm just cursed with wanting to do things that inspire me. Yeah. Right. Because specifically I'm a fan first. Right. And for me, it's really about staying curious. So the minute where I stop being curious is the minute where I'm not passionate about it. So, you know, positioning wise, or like the things that we sign or the things that we associate ourselves with really comes from a space of curiosity. And, you know, also just like going into music or going into entertainment in general is just like understanding what your niche is. Right. And for me, understanding what our niche was going to be, kind of having to stay true to that. Because I feel like, you know, let's take a brand like Supreme, right? When you talk to the founders of that brand, the reason why they have such an airtight brand and the reason why it's such a successful cult-like following is because they have these 3 adjectives that describe their company. And it doesn't matter what it is, who it is, or how much money it is. They never make decisions that don't align with at least 2 of them. Right. And, you know, taking that mantra or that mindset into play, it allows you to make decisions to feed your niche and really make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do for how you're supposed to do it. Because, you know, you can be everything for everybody, but it doesn't make you important. Right. I really feel like it's building on what it is that you have and having that overflow into, you know, a bigger situation, really. It's kind of how
it's crazy. So when you are looking for artists, do you have like a checklist of, you know, like qualities that you're looking for? You know, are you looking for artists that kind of has like their narrative or like, or, you know, where they're headed in this thing? Like, you know, is there anything specific that you guys are trying to make sure is, you know, specific to your brand and what it is you guys are trying to accomplish?
I would love to say yes and really act like I'm like as disciplined as I want to be. Yeah. But, you know, it's funny because I was like, I had like a premonition like a couple weeks ago. I was just riding in my car and I was listening to Drake, and he had a line, and I might be misquoting the line, but the line was kind of something like, either you have it or you don't. The theory is brilliant, right? And I was like, damn, that's great. But like it didn't really hit me like it hit me a week after, because then I was riding in my car listening to Lauryn Hill, and you know she said this line, "It could all be so simple," but the more important line in that stanza was, "But you rather make it hard," right? And I was just like, damn, like that's really how life is, right? So to answer your question, you know, about, you know, do I have a checklist? I know what I'm looking for. Yeah. You know, for me is really like we were talking about it earlier, it's really a narrative, a story, a reason to exist and really fill the space. And 2 is authenticity, and 3 is obviously talent, right? And talent is obviously based on, you know, who's asking, right? Depending on if you sing a song to somebody and they're not a trained ear, they might be like, oh, this is great versus not, right? So I always like to go in that order because for me, if you're not talented, if you have a crazy story, you can make it work, right? But to answer your question, like I said, sometimes I make it so complicated. I'm like, oh, you know what? Like, this person's so talented and it's really going to cut through. But in reality, if you lack the other two things,
we're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
Yeah.
We might get a little somewhere, but we're not going to go all the way.
Yeah.
And it just took me back to that Drake line every single time. And I'm like, it's really simple. The theory is brilliant if you really think about it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Super dope. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I got so many things I want to ask, but I want to get to the origin story. But I want to jump on this whole narrative thing, though, because a lot of artists have talent. They want to like get in the game, but they haven't even explored the whole narrative question.
Yeah.
So for a new artist, where do they start in terms of like figuring out, okay, what's their story, what's their narrative, and they just want to do music. They haven't even thought about that. Where do they start in terms of narrative?
Well, see, I have a problem with that, right? So, and the problem is, like, obviously you like to do music or you care to do music, but if you're doing something you don't know why, that's a problem, right? That means you're aimlessly just occupying space and occupying time. And as people specifically that are selling things like music or clothing or whatever it is that you're selling, right? In order for you to connect with a fan in a meaningful connection, right, you have to share some sort of reason to exist, right? Like, there's a reason why, when Apple releases their next iPhone, there's a line around the block as versus how many amount of Samsung phones that drop every other day, right? It's because the chairman, Steve Jobs, when he was building this company, he literally made sure that his fans or people that were consuming his product understood why he existed. So as an artist, I always say, look at yourself as a brand and peel the layers back that way. So if you don't know what it is your narrative is or why you need to exist, stop doing music for a little bit. Go back to your 12-year-old self. And I always say your 12-year-old self, even your 10-year-old self is super unbiased, right?
That's
super unbiased. So it's not about the money. It's not about a means to exist. It's not about, clout or whatever it is that you're in it for. It's really about your love for something and your passion. And those questions will be answered. And remember why it is that you want to do the reason you do what you're trying to do. And find out what that is by really just taking time to understand yourself and understand your purpose. Because other than that, you're just making music, right? Like, we can take artists like, a Bob Dylan or artists like a Kanye West or artists like, Drake or, whoever it is. Like when you take, these supernovas, Michael Jackson, Prince, they all have a clear through line, which is they all had a reason.
Yeah.
The music was important, but they all had a reason and they knew their brands. So like there's certain exercises that you can do to like help you answer these questions, because I know what I'm saying kind of could be esoteric, but like so maybe go on Google as a key tip, go on Google and type in the Jung test. And it's basically a personality test. It was invented by a philosopher in the early 1800s or whatever. But when you take this test, it allows you and breaks down certain questions that kind of gets down to the personality or the reasons why you are the way you are, right? And it allows you to then take that and then now, after you get that answer, right, go and research all of the brands that exist in major brands, right? So like there's like, for example, there's the Magic brand, there's the Love brand, all these different archetypes, right? So you can just type it in Google. Like, again, Google's your friend. Like really just type in, name all the brand archetypes, right? And read all those archetypes and decide which archetype you are, right? Based on the information that you got from the Jung test and really understanding yourself. And then once you figure that out, the brand and your archetype, then now you have a narrative and you know that what you're doing marketing-wise, the type of songs you're making are going to align, right? And then you have to dive in deeper and figure out what is your story or your experience in that. Right. and then that's what you start messaging, and people kind of fall to that. And
yeah, I agree, man. I think a lot of people are, misunderstand the concept of like your narrative and your story not actually being the same thing. I have this conversation constantly with my artists because, we're real big on making sure that we're not formulating a story and just, making up things to make people be interested. We're looking for that authenticity piece that for it to be authentic. So yeah, because like some people are like creating these stories, and that's not really the coolest way to go about it.
But that doesn't last, right? Because like even like diving into that, like your story and your narrative, right? So it's like they play into each other, right? So your narrative is basically the overarching reason, right? So like, well, let's just take an artist like, let's just take Kanye West, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
The narrative is the college dropout, right? That's just the narrative, right? But when you dive in deeper, his story is saying that, hey, I was this producer and all I wanted to do was rap, and everybody told me no. Everybody told me no. Everybody told me no. But you can parallel that to the idea of dropping out of college to chase your dreams, right? So the overarching idea gave him a purpose, but the reason why people believed him is because he told us his story within that.
Yeah.
So that's just like how you kind of can differentiate the two. Really,
This is good. I hope y'all watching this get some notes. Now, I want to get into love renaissance, but I love origin stories because I believe the people at home watching and listening can maybe find some nuggets in your story that they might can identify with, that can inspire them. So I want to talk about your influences. You grew up, I believe, in Kennesaw, in the Atlanta area.
So I had an interesting
Ghana,
upbringing.
right?
Yeah. So I mean, like I was born in Atlanta, Grady. When I was born, after like a year or two, my mom took me to Ghana for like from age 2 to like age 12 or 13, one or the other, I can't remember. But then I was brought back here, and then I went to school in Cobb. So Wheeler and then North Cobb. So I split my high school time in between those two places, and I went to middle school at East Cobb. So I've kind of been a melting pot, kind of just moving around, shaking, but yeah, I mean, my formative years were Atlanta.
So what kind of influences did you have then, like musically, business-wise?
It's funny because, I mean, like, my first influence, for me, all the people that influenced me were all people that were dreamers, right? Like, that's my narrative. When people ask me what's my narrative, it's like, I'm just a dreamer, right? I tend to believe things that aren't possible. So the first person that introduced me to that was Michael Jackson, right? Just like, he was magic, right? Yeah. He was everything. He was everything. And then the next person to do that for me was Jordan, right? And like just being associated with that brand, Nike, and like the just do it mentality was just what's everything for me. And then as like I got more sophisticated and like understanding what it is was going on, then Puffy was important to me in my life, and then Russell Simmons, and then Dame, and then like all these people. But it just seemed to always have like a similar. Even though they have different walks of life, but a similar mentality. And then, Kobe, and then it just kept on waterfalling. But that, for me, it really wasn't music as much as it was people.
Okay.
Like, I'm just like into people and their stories.
So did going into college, this is what you wanted to do as far as starting the company or being involved in entertainment?
Yeah. I mean, when I was graduating high school, I had an opportunity to like have a scholarship to go to college, but I knew that my time there was limited, right? For me, it was just like identifying what it is that I wanted to do with my time, right? So when I was a freshman in college, the first thing that I did on like my first day on campus, instead of me like figuring out what classes to take, I was just like, okay, cool. Let me identify who it is that I was a fan of. And I was a fan of this girl that used to sing in my middle school and high school. And I just reached out to her on Facebook, like, yo, what are you doing? She was just kind of like, I'm working at Arby's or some shit. I'm just like, yo, well, let me manage you. She's like, well, what does that mean? I'm just like, I've always loved your voice. Like, I just know I can help you. So I didn't know what I was getting into. I just know that I wanted to be in music. There was no blueprint. There's never a blueprint for entertainment. Specifically music, specifically at that time, because the internet was not what it is today. So, with that being said, I was just like, I love Dame, I love Russell, I love Puffy, but I don't know what they do, but I just want to do something like it. Yeah. So that was just kind of like curiosity again, just being curious. And
so how did that end up morphing into you and your partners, your co-founders, starting Love? How long did that take from that point to when you started Love Renaissance?
It was kind of like a snowball, right?
Okay.
So it was just like my freshman year, starting to work with this artist, and then, you know, my thing is that you never want to be the smartest person in the room, clearly, but also you never want to be the person that's not the best at your skill, right? My skill was people, getting people to believe in me, and music, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. I have good taste. Let me connect you with certain producers, and I'm very resourceful. So let me find certain producers and engineers, and we put together this project and had this narrative and had this idea, and it was perfect. But I'm like, okay, cool. I need artwork. I don't know how to do artwork.
Yeah.
So who did I know? I just tapped into my, my local network, and one of my partners today, Carlin, he did party flyers, right? And, just being a people person and not just going to somebody for a service, but trying to understand what their story is or what it is that they care about. And, we just started to bond and getting more into depth and like finding out that, no, he's like actually like an artist. Like he has these illustrious paintings in his house that he's drawing, but nobody's seen. He doesn't talk about it because it's not cool to talk about at the time. And then I'm like, oh, cool. Like, yo, like, can you just like run creative? Like, you don't like school anyways. You know what I'm saying? Can you just run creative for what I'm doing? And like, that was like the first piece. And the second piece was, my buddy that I went to high school with, who ended up being my college roommate, he was just like the most responsible person that I knew. And I'm just like, all right, cool. I think I need a publicist. Like, yo, you want to rock with me?
Come on,
you know
man.
what I'm saying? It was just like, he was like, yeah, I mean, I believe in you and whatever it is that you want to do. He was, and that was that. And then Tunde and Sean, that was like the last piece when, I was like, okay, now I need to figure out how to talk to the industry. So I need somebody that has 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And they were interning at DTP at the time. So it was just kind of like just connecting the pieces to make this village to do what it is that I needed to do. So it was just a snowball. It wasn't as meticulous as it seems, but in the moment, I was just going with my gut, right? So this is kind of how the formation of our company came to become.
That's crazy. Yeah. Who was the first artist, and how did you all like fund some of the early label duties? Like
the first artist that we all came together on was a kid named Rory.
Yeah.
And I found him again. I guess I'm a people person, right? Like I found him based on the girl that I was telling you about as like the one that I went to high school with. So we dropped her project, and it was just me at the time. Actually, it was me and Carlin at the time. So I dropped her project, and we had this local buzz again, just like people believing in me. The music was good, everything was fire. And then over the summer, some girl that was down in Atlanta heard the project. And they went to Howard University in DC, and they reached out saying, yo, I love this project. I love her. Can she open up for Trey Songz for Howard Homecoming? And I'm like, of course. But my thing is, I never want to put something in front of somebody twice. So I'm like, yo, let me try to figure out how to give you the best presentation with no money possible. So I'm like, all right. I asked my roommate at the time, and I was just like, yo, I need a band. And he was like, yo, I know these high school band that I know. They'll probably do it for free. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want me to connect you? He connected me. And Rory was the guitar player in the band.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like 15 at the time, right? And then like that's just kind of how we connected. And yeah, it was just all through people. And for him, it was like I was helping him every single day with the music, trying to find the story, trying to find the narrative.
Yeah.
And it took about 2 years.
Yeah.
We didn't ever put any music out. We were just in the studio every day. And like, I'm talking about like the grind was disgusting. Like, I mean, I was in school. I was selling women's shoes in Nordstrom after I was done with school. And then at night, his mom was a nurse. So she had these night shifts. So at night, I'll go pick him up. Mind you, like I said, he's 15, 16 at the time. I'll go pick him up and I'll bring him to my house at like 10 p.m. And then we'll record all day till about 3 or 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I'll drop him off before his mom gets back. He'll get maybe like 2 hours of sleep. And then he goes to school, but his mom will never know. We were just grinding every day, just hustling.
Wow.
I mean, like, it was ruthless, right? Like, it was a very long process, but we finally found it, and we found that one song that I believed in, and I was like, okay. And he was patient. He was like, yo, like, I want to drop a mixtape. I gotta have all these songs. But I'm like, it's just not right. It's just not right. He was patient. So when we finally found the song, I knew what it was, and you just have that feeling, right? It's just like, oh, nah, this is different. Like, all people have to do is just hear it. And from there on, it was just like, all right, cool. Let's look at all our assets. What do we have? All right, I have a car. Carlin, you have a crazy shoe collection. Okay, Sean, you know that NFL player? Cool. Let's just like scrounge up a bunch of money, and like we found like $5,000, and
my man sold the shoes.
It was, but we believed in it, right?
On,
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like it was like $5,000 that we needed to shoot a video. You know, we spent like maybe like 2 months looking for the right director. And again, I just wanted to do something different. So we were looking for people that shot short films and not music videos.
Right.
So we were just on Vimeo, just like scouring Vimeo staff pics, and finally found this this one director, and I emailed him and convinced him to meet us at a coffee shop. You know, gave him all my passion and told him what we're working on, let him hear the song, and he bet on us, and we gave him the vision. We told him exactly what we wanted to do, and that story is crazy. Like, there's more to it, but but yeah, and I mean that was the first thing that we did, and like we kind of came into the industry full.
Where'd you get that patience from though? To just kind of like both on your end and on his end, because that's a lot of patience to kind of like do the same thing, and we're not putting nothing out,
Because I understand human nature. It's like I said, I don't want to put something in front of somebody twice, and I know. Here, I'm very particular about when I hit somebody about something. I'm very particular about when I send somebody something. I spend my time building a relationship with somebody, and when I hit you with something, you actually take a listen to it, or you actually care, because I'm not just bombarding you with shit.
That's right.
So me knowing that about myself, I'm just like, if I'm gonna go for it, we have to make sure that it's right. And just from my experience, again, everything that was happening, just like being a student of everything that was happening, the things that were cracking through, or the things that felt like an event almost, right? You just post like A$AP Rocky Peso, and like that video took over the world. And then I was literally watching Trinidad James blow up with All Gold Everything.
That's right.
And I was just like, and Tyler with Yonkers, and like it was so specific. And I'm just like, okay, that seems to be what it's gonna take. So let's find our version of that.
Hell yeah. Y'all were doing crazy shit with that kid, man. Like I can remember like like football games or maybe concerts or something, man, where you guys were like hanging out in like a Utah. Y'all were doing concerts on the back of U-Haul trucks and shit, man, and like just doing whatever it took, man, to get him seen and to like, make people notice him and things like that, man. Like it was really kind of groundbreaking, man. Like, what were y'all thinking? Because like in Atlanta, that's really tough to do, man. So many people are going at shit and trying shit, and yeah, in Atlanta, it's like that's really tough to do, man. But like what was really dope is like people really like recognized it and gave props to it, man, and really started following it.
Yeah, nah, for sure. It was, and we can talk about it later, but like Atlanta has a scene, right? Like, well, Atlanta had a scene specifically at that time. And what I was noticing was every artist with a buzz, or every artist that like had something going, will just do the same thing, where they'll get a song or a couple songs, and like they'll go to like the department store or whatever, venues were around, and just play for the same 10 people.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, okay, cool, I have a show. Same 10. I'm like, all right, this is not gonna move the needle, nor is it gonna make this thing feel special. So for us, was just about being disruptive, right? Our story is disruptive. So our approach needs to be disruptive. And for Rory specifically, it was just like, all right, cool. Your music doesn't fit in any category. It's not like it's like traditional rap. It's not like it's traditional R&B. You're fitting in a weird alternative space, and it's not even fully alternative, right? Like we just didn't know where to put it. But again, we just knew to go find like-minded kids. But more importantly for us was to make this thing feel like a myth, right? So it's just like, all right, cool. Well, what can we do? So we said we're just gonna pull up to the concert letouts, because that's where it'd be all these kids after the concert let out. Like it's like 3,000 kids just standing, not wanting to go home. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, cool. So the first concert let out we did was a Tyler the Creator concert, and we created our own flyer, and we rented this U-Haul, and we just like spray painted it. And when it let out, you know, we had the band in the U-Haul. When it let out, you know, we just were in the middle of the street and just like full on, and he got on top of the road, and again, he got on top of the truck, and like he's performing, and you know, now you have a parking lot full of kids that are jumping and just like confused of what's going on, and it looks like pandemonium. But
Disruptive.
But it doesn't matter because you take that footage and you put it on YouTube, and people are just like, what is going on, right? So it's just like, then it becomes a myth, and it's just like then you hear people saying, yo, I saw Rory performing on a U-Haul truck going down the highway. None of that happened. But it's like, it becomes telephone, right? Because it's like people just trying to tell the story. So we found that to make sense, just being disruptive. Yeah,
that's fire.
Yeah,
Crazy.
fun times, man. Fun times.
That shit was crazy. I remember it.
It says something about you though, in the artist you believe in. Because I think I read somewhere about Black. You met him and had him just stay in your house for like a year.
Yeah.
Before y'all even did anything in terms of putting anything out or trying to put anything out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Again, people. We met Black as we have the Rory thing moving and drums moving, and a party promoter friend of ours, Trizzy, he was like, "Yo, my best friend, his name is Black. I want you to check out the music." I checked it out. Only one issue. Music was fire. Voice was fire. Only one issue is that he was signed to Flow Rider, and he was like, basically was left for dead, right? He'd been in this deal. It was a bad deal for a while. So we went in as management, and, you know, we got together and we met. I can't remember what restaurant it was at. And, you know, he was just telling us what he wanted to do and how he saw the vision. And, you know, we believed in it. And I extended my home because, again, I had a studio in my house. For me, it's, again, just being resourceful. I extended my home. I was like, yo, come over the weekend. Let's just hang, you know, record, whatever it is that you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, go back to yours after the weekend. So he came with a book bag. For the weekend, he never left for like a year. He just crashed on the couch. And I'm like, crazy. I appreciate it. But every day he woke up and he recorded. Every day, woke up and recorded for a year. This is mind you, this is in and out. So mind you, this is as we're doing the Rory thing and we're like going from city to city, state to state, like leaving the country, coming back. And he was just being disciplined every day recording. And the story about him, and that's what I say, is just like consistency. And like, he was just such a student. Like, he was just watching everything on the internet, like just like seeing where this person fucked up, where that person messed up at. And like, it was so interesting to watch how smart of an artist he was. And it wasn't so much about, you know, how talented he was, it was more so about how smart he was and how meticulous he was towards that. And a year goes by, and, you know, we're finally able to get him out that deal with Flow Rider. It took a while because, you know what I'm saying, like, it takes money to get somebody out the deal. And when we got him out the deal, a week later, he records a song, and we're about to go to the club. We're like, yo, you want to come to the club? He's like, no, I got something I want to say on this record. So he records it, and he sends it to us while we're in the club, whatever, something like that. And listen to it on the way home or the next morning, and it was a song called Problems. And I was just like, wow, you've been recording all this music, but a week after you get out the deal, you record this song. And we put it out maybe a month later, and that was it.
Gone.
Yeah. It was just one of those situations. You couldn't make it up. Yeah.
That shit is incredible, man.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the part of this that's like really missing, man. And that's the development piece, man. And I'm not talking about like the corny artist development part of it or development part. I'm talking about the part of like really learning your craft as an artist and as a songwriter and studying the craft and learning what it is that's going to separate you from everybody else and really working to be like a one of one. You know what I'm saying? Instead of trying to be like this trendy type of situation where everybody's doing what everybody else is doing. You know, I think that part right there is really missing. Yeah, I think it's really crazy that you guys are like into like nurturing an artist for a year and making a person really work on it, and before they present themselves, like it's like you're extremely sure about what it is you're trying to accomplish because of the time that you put into, you know, preparing for it. And so I see now why, you know, I see why you guys are having so much success, because these are the types of things that you guys are investing in. And, you know, I just think that incubator system is a real special, piece. It seems to be like a pretty special component to what you guys are doing. Yeah, I want to get into this the dope shit that I've been seeing this past year, man, and that is like the development of the Division project and what you guys were doing, in studio while making that project, man. And it was just pretty brilliant, man, the way you guys kind of showed y'all's dynamic. Y'all showed the the laughter, y'all showed the bickering, y'all showed the creation process of it. You also showed the presentation part of it, where you were like showing people what was going on. It was really dope, man, to see you and Jermaine Dupri come together, man, to like let people in on what they were doing. 'Cause, Jermaine Dupri doesn't really let people inside those sessions like that. I mean, you get some small sneaks, from his IG and stuff, but to see them in that environment and like really mashing it out was pretty dope. What was the thoughts behind that process?
It was just one of those things, right? It's just like, when we started working with Division, specifically, we identified what our goals were, right? We said, you guys have a very strong core fan base and people know you for a certain thing, but, it's super niche, right? How can we cast the net a little bit wider, right? And how can we recreate, a sense of excitement? And just going through it, my first idea was energy, right? Energy is spawned in a number, a group of people, a certain idea. So I was just like, okay, leave Toronto for a year, come down to Atlanta. So they came down to Atlanta, got them with Jermaine, and just day by day, we were making these records, just like sometimes we didn't make records, just argue and just like, but like watching everything happen was just like, oh, this is like special because we've never seen you in this space before. It's new to you, and it's exciting to Jermaine because Jermaine, he's excited because people tell he likes to do what people can't tell him. People tell him that he can't do
right. Yeah.
Right. So I was just like, okay, cool. Like, so as we're making these records and they're getting into it, there's a lot of argument and there's a lot of interesting conversations that happen on a day to day, and it was just like, okay, cool. Let's just document this, right? Let's make people feel like they were part of this album. So we have all this footage, right? And like, there's some that came out, but like there's so much more that hasn't come out. But like, right. It's just this now, again, because we were forecasting to a year later. So this now was a forecast, if you were paying attention, for you to see how and why the music sounds the way it does.
Exactly.
Right? Because if you're making a change or you're growing and people can't see that you're growing, it's like, what the fuck you guys got going on, right? So this is kind of just like a way to just like drop the breadcrumbs so people can just follow along as things happen.
We bought into it, man. We bought into it. I think it was really dope, man, to be excited about what was about to happen. The way you guys rolled it out, man, it kind of kept us all, fiending to see what was next, to find out what this record is going to be like. And then when it came out, it was like, oh shit, this shit is like a part of a thing that we watched them build. And I think the other part that was really unique about it was that you went to some of the most authentic, OG producers in the game, man, to like help you mold this and bring it together. Not a lot of people, man, still go to the greats, or, in today's terms, man, the OGs, to get the sound that they're looking for, man. But like, you really worked on making sure that you kept this authentic, and and you brought in one of the greatest, record producers in the game, especially in R&B, to like help you mold this. Like, what a way, to make some shit like this happen, man.
Yeah, that was also by design, because like, for me, just being an R&B fanatic, right? Like, R&B was like coming into a space to where, the songwriting was missing. Right, the actual climaxes of the records and all these things that I loved about the genre were missing, right? But here's the issue. The issue comes on both sides, right? The issue is a lot of the OGs aren't open to new ideas, and a lot of the younger guys aren't open to being talked at, right? Because if I got my wave going, like, I don't care how many number ones you got, like, you're not gonna talk to me crazy, right? So for me, I just saw myself as like a conduit to bridge the gap. That's it. I'm just like, I am super respectful of Jermaine. Like, again, these are people that I looked up to.
That's right.
Right, and I'm from the city, so I'm just like, yo, if I can be that person that helps bridge that gap, that's just what I'm gonna do. So like, me leaving my ego at the door, and also Division leaving their ego at the door, and Jermaine leaving their ego at the door at the expense of doing it on the behalf of me, right, allows it to work. And Jermaine and B Cox, like, specifically, like, we've really grown tight over the last couple years, but like, I know they've learned so much in this process. Yeah. And the amount of shit that I've learned has been ridiculous. And I'm like, oh, like, I understand why you guys were repeat offenders of like hits. Yeah. Like, it makes so much sense, right? The only thing that they learned from us is, again, just like, how to attack certain records differently, or just like, or even marketing a record, right? Because it's different than how it was, some time ago. So it's just like, all these things I feel like just make this gumbo or this pot, because it plays into nostalgia, which people love to buy into. Yeah. But also cutting edge, which kids love. So it's just one of those things that I'm glad to be a part of and really witness go down.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So can I ask about Summer Walker, man? Like, I'm a huge fan, and what's really interesting about her was like how I discovered her, and like maybe how other people discovered her. She kind of came across sort of like maybe an Instagram artist, where like, there were times where she would be online, singing and writing songs and playing the guitar and things like that, man. And then, you guys, as the development of her story started to kind of come out and the story started to play out, it was really dope to watch, because it all sort of unfolded right in front of everybody. And this was all, before she blew, but like, we also watched her blow, like, and online, like, we saw the whole process.
Man, Summer is an interesting one, because Summer is so funny, because she's probably taught me the most out of any artist that I've worked with. Nice. And not her knowingly knowing that she's taught me things, but she's taught me a lot, because I've never dealt with an artist like her. Because artists like Summer, I had to realize that it's just like, get out the way and let God just do what he's supposed to do. Yeah. Right? Like, when I first signed her, I know one thing that I loved about her is her tone. I just couldn't get enough of it. Yeah. Right? Now, did I know how layered she was? I'd be lying if I said I did. Right. Right? And her specifically, what she taught us to do, which is pay attention to me and highlight what it is that I am. That's it. That's all we did with Summer.
Which is fire.
You can't pay for what she is, right? Like, it's all organic.
Yeah, that's OG label work, man. It's like back in the day, man, when you really had to like learn your artist and learn to work your artist and work with the way that person, was expressing themselves. You had to, really put in work into like designing a program for that artist. It's not like today where all you gotta have is some data or whatever, man. I just really appreciate the fact that you guys are like really taking the time to like develop relationships with your artists to kind of know what it is you guys are wanting to achieve from an artist standpoint and label standpoint, because it's like both of them are needed.
Bro, I'm telling you, literally, on the first project we were working on, and actually ironic that is like the 4th year of that coming out, last day of summer today. But so this was like 4 years ago, maybe like a couple weeks before today. Yeah. We were getting ready to put out this project, and I'm like, yo, Summer, like, this album cover, your face is not on it. Yeah. Like, we have to like reshoot this album cover. She said no. Yeah. I'm like, you're not telling me no. I signed you. Like, what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? But no, like, they fought me, like her and her manager at the time. Like, they fought me. Like, they're like, no, this is what it is that we want to do. This is our vision. Respectfully, I'm like, you got this one. Next one is mine. Yeah. Go ahead and get this one out the way, right? And it was just one of those things. Again, it just allowed me to understand the type of draw or the type of allure that she wanted people to come into her, right? For her, it was like, I wanted to be about my music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want anything else, right? Like, but she found a way to make it about other things, not in a traditional format, right? Not in a one-on-one interview, right? Like, no, I might just do some dumb shit tomorrow, and y'all don't know how to react to it, but cool, it's fine. It'll be there.
That's
right. And that's just what it is. And it was just like, but that's what an artist is. Like, I always say, imagine if Whitney Houston had a Twitter. Like,
lit.
like, life will be crazy.
Right.
Right? But that's what it is, right? And like, I feel like we want our artists to be perfect, manicured, and, you know, more so in a pop perspective. But in Black culture, urban culture, that's just not how we are. Like, we like, you know, sauce. We like niggas fucking shit up. Like, we like things being dysfunctional. That's just our thing. And that's why our artists have always been, if you look at the transcending artists, right? You look at James Brown, again, Michael Jackson,
Bobby Brown,
you know, Whitney. Like these people have transcended music specifically because they never played by the rules.
Damn.
But they knew what they were doing. They didn't just go around aimlessly. Like, they knew exactly what they're doing. They knew the story they're building for herself. And yeah, Summer is one of those things. Like, it's just get out the way. Only thing I help her with is just like make these albums as perfect as possible. You know what I'm saying? Like, the first album we were working on, I remember and this is when I was like, no. She turned in that first album, Over It. She turned it into me. I want to say it was like March 2018. She turned it into me, and I'm like, no, it's not good. We have to redo it. Oh man, that was hell on earth. She was like, no, like, well, what's wrong with it? I'm like, no, I'm not accepting it. I'm gonna help you make it better. So I took all the pieces of it, and I was like, all right, cool. Now we have to like construct these as songs. So they were like 1 minute, 2 minutes, just like they were just ideas, right? So like, all right, cool. Like, all right, this is strong enough. This will stay. Like, really helping her construct it and help really put it together. And then I pulled in London, and you know, when I pulled him in, I was just like, okay, cool. You have a great idea in terms of understanding what the current sound is in R&B, and specifically, this is when I knew that London was going to be an impact on that album, because like we had to rework the whole album, and like that was hell on earth.
Yeah.
And she was just like, no. What I did was I ended up breaking into her hard drive, because what Summer does is like when she goes through like emotional shit, she'll just record and leave it on her hard drive, and like nobody would ever hear it. Right. But she's not thinking about it. Like, it's just like, that's just how I felt at the moment. So I got broken to her hard drive, and without her knowing, by the way, and I found this voice memo. It was Playing Games record, and I'm like, it was just like guitar, crazy. And she was just singing a cappella, like acoustic to it, and I was like, oh, this is fire. So I played to London. I'm like, yo, what do you think about this? He was like, you know, he was like so into like, I just want to make new shit with her. I'm like, yeah, we'll make new shit, but like I really want you like to pay attention here. Yeah. And that was like a fight, but like he finally like, you know, took it in, and like, you know, and then we sat in the studio, and you know, we worked on it, and he made that beat maybe, I want to say, in like an hour, and I was listening to it. I'm like, oh no, this is gonna go. Yeah. This is immediate. Yeah. And the next day he was like, yo, you were right. It's rocket. I'm like, yeah. And then that was just like the snowball for like the whole album. And then like we made the album like 2 weeks because like we had that type of energy. Yeah. And the Summer was bought into it, and it was crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you like do that? How do you like go through these battles? You know, like is it just like is it the end result you're chasing? Is it like the finish line you're looking at? Is it the cause? Like a lot of times, you know, in these battles, what makes you just not say, you know what, screw it, you know what I'm saying? But what makes you like push forward to fight? Hey, London, you got to do this, or no, you got to do this album over. Like, what gives you the unction to like go through the hell on earth, as you put it?
Bro, it's I don't know. It's just I'm passionate about it, right? Like my name is on it, right? And like that's if anything that if anything I put my name on, I never wanted to be whack.
Yeah.
And for me, if it's whack, I'm going to look around and I'm going to get mad at everybody around me for not telling me that it's whack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's just like,
I feel the same
so
way.
it's just like, for me, it's just like, I know how much I believed in her and her vocal ability and her talent as a songwriter. And I'm just like, there's no way I'm going to let you underserve yourself, even if you don't see it. No way I'm going to let you underserve yourself. So for me, it was just like, picking my battles is important, but when I stand on it, people know that, like, all right, he's passionate about it, and I'm going to see it all the way through. Yeah. And I'm not going to give up on you in the process, right? Like, I'm going to be in it with you to help you figure it out. I think that it's kind of productive when you just, like, you know, give an opinion and you just walk out the room and don't help somebody see it all the way through. But for me, I just, you know, stay through and with them. So I don't know if that answers your question, but, bro, it's just my job. It's stressful.
Super dope.
Yeah.
Stressful, man.
So what's next, man? What's going on with LVRN and you?
Like I was saying, I think that where we are right now as a culture, as a people, as an idea, we're in the middle of a reset. And whoever figures it out in these next 4 years is going to dictate the next decade. Because I know everybody's looking for the next Drake. Everybody's looking for the next Bad Bunny or whatever it is, right? And those artists will come. But what first needs to change is the idea of what music is supposed to be, the idea of what culture is. And, you know, right now, I think we've reached a threshold. We realize that we can't keep up with computers. Like, because if a computer's hard drive is full, all you have to do is just add in more RAM and more memory. And, like, but as humans, we can't do that, right? Yeah. Like,
I get it.
You know what I'm saying? We can only listen to one song at a time, right? And, you know, I'm reading all these articles and people are saying, like, well, why is catalog, like, so important? And why is catalog outstreaming new music? Well, when you're tired, what are you going to do? You're going to go to what you know.
That's right, bro.
I'm just going to what I know.
That's right, man.
So all that's cool. I'm going to go to what I know. And I feel like what we're here to do and what I'm here to do specifically, I think that the work starts now, which is now we're finally in a position of power, in a position to be able to make decisions, because this is the first time where I'm young enough, I'm in touch enough, but I have enough access and resource and power to be able to dictate things how I want to dictate them, right? So I'm excited for our future because it gets back to the ideals of artist development. It gets back to the ideals of actually making something matter to people, right? And going core, not mainstream, right? Like, mainstream will come to you, right?
That's right.
Like, the idea of what a pop star is has changed. You know, nobody was going to tell me that Doja Cat was going to be the biggest artist in the world 4 years ago.
Right.
Right? Like, that nobody could see that. Pop music has changed, right? My issue with hip hop and R&B specifically is that I've been kind of screaming about this for the last 4 years. I'm like, we're going to drop the ball. We're going to drop the ball. We have no quality control. We are going to lose the tide, because I know we're number one right now and people is loving our culture, but you got to understand, if you study history, this is how we always lose the ball, because we don't take care and take pride in what it is that we create.
Come on.
So hip hop and R&B is just like, yo, y'all niggas just putting shit out. Where's the feeling? Where's the meaning? Where's the real artist? As versus when I go to these pop camps and these pop writers and how they're really constructing these songs and making sure that there's this lead melody line in there and it repeats and like all these things, and like actually they go to the fundamentals of music. I'm like, damn, we're not doing that in our music. So we're gonna lose the consumer, because the consumer has bought into our culture. But now that our culture has now transcended just hip hop, and now a pop artist like Billie Eilish said, yo, what y'all like? Gucci? I bet I got that. But I'm making real songs and I'm giving you a feeling. So what you got?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, we can't sustain enough of the love or the infatuation of our culture. The product has to be there. The work got to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like any drug dealer, right? Like, or any person that's on the corner selling work, like, you know, you are you always have to make sure that you got the best work, because the next nigga is right across the line.
Yeah, working it out.
Ready to serve the best work.
Come on,
so what
man.
you got? So like, we're in trouble as a culture, and I'm watching it happen, and I'm watching literally us lose the ball. So like right now, when you're looking at urban music, you know, Afrobeats is taking over, right? Let me tell you why. Because there's a feeling that is emoting, right? And that's the feeling that's left our music. You know, like, it's all the same BPM, our music. Same thing.
Right.
Same message. Nothing is being distinct. Why should I care about any of these niggas? One person becomes the next nigga. Every pioneer that has existed in the last 10 years are the ones that are still standing. We argued about the SoundCloud era. Oh, it's never going anywhere. No. There's only two people that exist that are still standing, is Cardi and Uzi. Cardi and Uzi. Everybody else, majority of the time, kind of fell to the wayside. Where's Lil Pump? Where's all these guys, right? Like, gone, right? But that's just how the cycle of music goes. It's super trendy. So you have to make sure that the product is good, the work is good. And that's just kind of what I'm doing. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let's get it. Now let's see who makes the best music. Yeah. Because it's just a crapshoot. Yeah. TikTok, let's hope that it sticks. Wow. Okay, cool. Let's just make the best product and, like, you know, and grind it out. Yeah. Old-fashioned marketing. Let's make sure that we're actually touching people, hand-to-hand combat. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference in going to a show. There's a difference in hearing a song on Spotify. That's a completely different amount of connection that you're going to build with somebody. So, like, how can you make sure that every marketing effort, every song you drop feels personalized to the consumer? And that's how you're going to beat out everything else. Because, man, the internet is great, but use it to your advantage and don't let it use you. That's just how I'm looking at everything right now.
Conversations like this I love, because 10 years, 15 years from now, I would want to look back on conversations like these and see what stuck. You know, see what stuck. You know, like, what's catalog 10 years from now that came out this year? It's part of a catalog. Right. Because like you, I listen to most stuff from like the 90s, 2000s, maybe 10 years ago. I love new stuff now, but how much of that do I go back to? You know, when it comes out.
Yeah, you don't. It's very few things that I go back to. And when I realize the ones that I go back to, like, maybe like Kendrick's catalog really rings well for me. You know, yeah, you know, so does, like, you know, and when we talk about hip hop, so does Drake's catalog. You know, biasly speaking, I love Summer's catalog. But again, like, these things that, like, stick. Yeah. And is a Frank Ocean, like The Weeknd, like, these things that stuck, that, like, are part of your upbringing, and it's kind of like a memory in your bank that is like, yo, when you're like, how am I feeling today? Oh shit, like, I want to feel creative. Okay, cool. What am I gonna put on? You know what I'm saying? Like, and you go back to those albums that you remember, but
or some stuff you forgot it came out. Oh, you know what? I forgot this album even existed. It came out 3 years ago. This was pretty nice, and you listen to it. Maybe it hit the same, maybe it don't hit the same. But I'm curious to see what sticks 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when I'm, 50, 60, 70 years old. What do I go back to? But to me, it's fun times. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, right? Like, when we were kids, you know, and I don't know how old you are, but, like, specifically me, like, you know, when everybody was revolting against, you know, the YouTube era for me, right? Like, as much as I love, you know, the Y2K era when I was in it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm never listening to that music in the catalog. Like, I'm never listening to Crank That Soulja Boy. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? But I loved it when it existed, right? But I tell you what I went back to. I went back to the Black Album. Yep. You know what I'm saying? I went back to, you know, what else existed? I went back to some of, like, DMX's older albums, like Kanye's albums, like, they really stuck to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, Lauryn Hill. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm just like, okay, you know what's gonna stick based on the quality of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say, because I don't talk bad about people, but there's a certain album I just used to love back in 2006, 2007. Thought it was the greatest. I listened to recently. It's like, it's okay, but it don't quite. Yeah. You know. It don't quite hit the same. So yeah, I get it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Music. Aging of music is interesting, because certain artists just know how to make things feel timeless, and certain artists don't. But it's also a lot of it has to do with production. I realize production really is the key to like that timeless feel versus not.
I could go on for days about production and like the value of really being able to produce a project with live instrumentation and just like people who know what they're doing. Programming has kind of, it ruined it for people, man. You know what I mean? And it's like we're losing, that feeling, that comes with making records and having something special. I mean, programming is, essential because it's a part of technology and the way we all produce these days. But at the end of the day, like you can really tell when someone doesn't have any feel in their records and they're just like, using loops and doing things like that, like, which nothing wrong with any of that, but like it still needs to be some type of like, human element in it, some type of like real feel in it. And I think that part of this is what's missing. And, like I mentioned Malay once before, man, like, it's always dope to work with people like him because he's such a genius. And the reason it is what it is because he still, incorporates a real feel in the stuff that he's doing.
To me, and I might get, I don't care, but like the producer to me is more important than the artist.
Yeah.
Everything comes from the producer.
Yeah.
Personally, I think the artist is a conduit to what the music bed is, but like, man, like the producer, number one, has the sound, right? Helps you produce out the song, but more importantly, gives you a direction to go, right? Now, a beat maker, no, I don't believe that they're more important than artists at all. But like, if you're in it with a producer, because I've been blessed to watch, like, I mean, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, I was in a session with Dr. Dre and Puffy.
Yeah.
And it was
insane.
I was just like,
I couldn't imagine.
I was just like, okay, there's different levels. Like, there's levels to this shit.
Yeah.
And then I have to leave that session. Then I go to another session. I'm like, oh, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't. You guys don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even know what mic the artist is using.
That's right.
That's a problem.
Right.
You don't know what sound you're trying to get out of the artist.
That's right.
So it's tough.
Well, I mean, I definitely think you beyond your years, man. Like, I could definitely tell that you're like a student of the music. You're a student of the business. Like, you know what's going on, man. And I think it's evident in the success that you're having, man. And we just hope that this continues for you. And I'm excited to see see this play out. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
This is my first time meeting you in person, man. But like, your name has been in rooms you ain't in good ways too.
That's great. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, as a producer, I'm always looking, to try to create relationships and build good situations. And too many times I've heard your name, and so I just think that you're on your way, man.
Thank you.
It is what it is.
Thank you.
But thank you for coming to the show today, man. This was really dope.
For having me.
This was incredible, man. Yeah.